Welcome into the live, guys. Welcome into the live. It is Tuesday and it's August 1st. Can you believe it? Of 2023. And tonight we are going to be reading this book, Tuesdays with Maury. Now, we started reading this book last night and it's a rather interesting book. And not last night, the night before. Very, very interesting book. A great book of inspiration. And you all know we can all do with some inspiration every now and again. And so tonight we are going to continue reading the book. I don't know about y'all, but I have fallen in love with the book. I don't even remember where I stopped last night. I think I stopped at the professor. And so we are going to continue reading it. So once you come into the live, guys, share out the live. Yeah, call your friends and your friends and your friends to come on over into the live and come listen. They need some inspiration. We all need to learn how to love, how to care, and how to live our best lives, how to live our lives like there is no tomorrow. And even in the presence of impending death, we can still live. We can still have a marvelous life because after all, nobody is going to come out of here alive. Everybody is going to come out of here dead. So since we all know that we are all going to come out of here dead, why not live until we die? Many of us are dead before we are dead. Hold on, let me turn. Okay. Many of us do not live at all. You know, we kind of exist, but we don't live. Some of us don't live because of fear. I might be one of those people. I can be absolutely petrified, you know, just by just about anything. It could petrify me so much that I just avoid it. People say, Trev, learn to swim. I said, I ain't never seen a fish walking up the street. That's the same thing my grandfather used to say. He used to say, I ain't never seen a fish walking up the street. The day you see a fish walking up the street, you let me know. Oh my gosh. And because of that, I have never learned to swim. And when I was a child growing up, and we would go to the seaside. My mom would always say, "Unu come from there, unu come from there, unu no go there." So we never learned to swim. We were always afraid of the water. The water would get to our ankles, and my mom would start screaming that we should get away from there. So we never learned to swim. And people would say, "Oh, you need to learn to swim, da 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 da." Well, kind of too late now. My kids say, "Mommy, it's not too late. These old knees and hips." Yeah. Give me some water to drink. I'll drink it for you. But that's about it. But here we're reading this book, Tuesdays with Maury. And Maury is a man who has been given a terminal diagnosis. And even in the face of impending death, he has decided that he's going to live every single day. He's going to turn life upside down and he's going to drain out every last drop out of it. He's going to wring it and wring it and wring it dry and make sure that he gets every last drop of life out of his life. And that is a beautiful thing. And then his friend Mitch is on the journey with him. And every Tuesday, Mitch buys a ticket and flies. How many friends you think would do that? Every Tuesday, he flies to go see his friend, to go sit with his friend, to go talk with his friend who is now dying, to go have meals with his friend, and they're enjoying each other's company. And I mean, it just warms my heart just to read the book and realize that life is so fragile, but even in the darkest moments, we can make life so beautiful by the way we treat one another. AG is in the place. AG, bless up a nice clean self with your little foot. Littlefoot AG is in the place, and my dear sister Andrea is here. Andrea, how are you doing, my love? So good to see you. And my dear Liz is here. That is Arlise from Arlise Delight. Wait, me left the iPad. I run with Arlise. It run till it turn off. It run out of Arlise. It run out. Where this come from? It run till it run out of charge. Let me hook it up right here so it get a little bit more charge. Alright, there it is. Alright, make it get some charge out of this. There it is. Alright. And then once it gets some charge, me turn it on. See it has 0%. But good to see you, Liz. I hope you had a great day, my love. AG. AG, say I love the picture on the thumbnail. I mean that now. Yeah, me. Go learn. Listen, I was once a swimmer. Don't forget, I was once a swimmer. All right. My daddy sent the little swimmer come. I grab it, and that was the only time I ever swam. I didn't learn because I was forced to do so, and even now I refuse to go further than I can stand if I'm alone. Exactly, I ain't going in the water. I'm still terrified of the water, but it is what it is. I don't think yeah, because I'm afraid. Wow, look at my friend Ryan from Ryan's vlogs. Ryan, what's up? How are you doing? So good to see you guys. There's my friend Ryan from Ryan's vlog. If you all are not yet connected with my friend Ryan, please, please, please connect with my friend Ryan from Ryan's vlog. Good to see you, Ryan. I haven't seen you in a hot minute. How have you been, my love? Good to see you. And it's like early in the morning now for you. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad to see you. All right, so AG, that's an AG. It's a blessing to everybody in the chat. AG, turn to get some hours. All right, AG, you will get some hours tonight. AG is getting some hours tonight. AG, born Jamaica. All right, there is AG right there. AG's playlist. Let me see Yard Chronicles. Okay, I'm gonna run all of Yard Chronicles yet. So let me run Yard Chronicles from watching a family up there. Okay. Hold on, let me turn this. Where is my headphone? If I plug my headphone into it, then no matter how loud it is, I can't, you won't be able to hear it. And I don't want you to hear it. Alright, now the people here, I come. Alright, here's the headphone, so I'm gonna plug it in. Can always go loud, and AG, you go and play right there. So, and when I'm playing, y'all guys, you might not see me comment, but I'm just running you, giving you watch hours. One day when I come back to your channel, you will see me comment. But just know that when I give you love, I give you real love. No puppy love, no puppy love. Only real love over here. Right says, I'm already here in Canada. Oh, are ya? Oh, I come to Canada quite a bit. Yeah. Oh, good to see you. Good. I'm gonna hit you up whenever I come back. You in Toronto? I know Canada is huge, so you could be anywhere over there. And Sister Winnie is here. Sister Winnie, how are you doing? So good to see you, my love. So good to see you. Okay, we are going to be reading the book Tuesdays with Maury. So come on into the live, guys. Share out the live. Invite your friends to come on over into the live and let us read. This is an inspirational book, and it is also a short book. So we are going to be reading it quite quickly. Oh, in Alberta. Oh, Lord. Oh Lord. Yeah, that's far away. But anyway, I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're having fun and having a great time, my love. All right, guys. So here we are reading the book Choosers with Maury. And we are on to the chapter The Professor. He was 8 years old. A telegram came from the hospital. And since his father, a Russian immigrant, could not read English, Maury had to break the news, reading his mother's death notice like a student in front of the class. We regret to inform you, da 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 da, he began. On the morning of the funeral, Maury's relatives came down the steps of his tenement building on the poor Lower East Side of Manhattan. The men wore black suits, the women wore veils. The kids in the neighborhood were going off to school, and as they passed, Maury looked down, ashamed that his classmates would see him this way. One of his aunts, a heavy-set woman, grabbed Maury and began to wail. What will you do without your mother? What will become of you? Maury burst into tears. His classmates ran away. At the cemetery, Maury watched as they shoveled dirt into his mother's grave. He tried to recall the tender moments they had shared when she was alive. She had operated a candy store until she got sick, after which she mostly slept or sat by the window, looking frail and weak. Sometimes she would yell out for her son to come get some medicine, and young Maury, playing a stickball in the street, would pretend he did not hear her. In his mind, he believed he could make the illness go away by ignoring it. How else can a child confront death? Maury's father, whom everyone called Charlie, had come to America to escape the Russian army. He worked in the fur business, but was constantly out of a job. Uneducated and barely able to speak English, he was terribly poor, and the family was on public assistance much of the time. Their apartment was a dark, cramped, depressing place behind the candy store. They had no luxuries, no car, no money, no nothing. Sometimes, to make money, Maury and his younger brother David would wash porch steps together for a nickel. After their mother's death, the two boys were sent off to a small hotel in the Connecticut woods where several families shared a large cabin and a communal kitchen. The fresh air might be good for the children, the relatives thought. Maury and David had never seen so much greenery, and they ran and played in the fields. One night after dinner, they went for a walk, and it began to rain. Rather than come inside, they splashed around for hours. The next morning, when they awoke, Maury hopped out of bed. Come on, he said to his brother. Get up. I can't. What do you mean? David's face was panicked. I can't move. He had polio. Of course, the rain did not cause this, but a child Maury's age could not understand that. For a long time, as his brother was taken back and forth to a special medical home and was forced to wear braces on his legs, which left him limping, Maury felt responsible. So in the mornings, he went to synagogue by himself because his father was not a religious man, and he stood among the swaying men in their long black coats, and he asked God to take care of his dead mother and his sick brother. And in the afternoons, he stood at the bottom of the subway steps and hawked magazines, turning whatever money he made over to his family to buy food. In the evening, he watched his father eat in silence, hoping for, but never getting, a show of affection, communication, or warmth. At 9 years old, he felt as if the weight of a mountain was on his shoulders. But a saving embrace came into Maury's life the following year, his new stepmother, Eva. She was a short Romanian immigrant with plain features, curly brown hair, and the energy of two women. She had a glow that warmed the otherwise murky atmosphere his father created for them. She talked when he She talked when her new husband was silent. She sang songs to the children at night. Maury took comfort in her soothing voice, her school lessons, her strong character. When his brother returned from the medical home, still wearing leg braces from the polio, the two of them shared a rollaway bed in the kitchen of their apartment, and Eva would kiss them good night. Maury waited on those kisses like a puppy waits on milk, and he felt deep down that he had a mother again. There was no escaping their poverty, however. They lived now in the Bronx, in a one-bedroom apartment in a red brick building on Tremont Avenue, next to an Italian beer garden where the old men played bookie on summer evenings. Because of the Depression, Maurice's father found even less work in the fur business. Sometimes, when the family sat at the dinner table, all Eva could put out was bread. "What else is there?" David would ask. "Nothing else," she would answer. When she tucked Maury and David into bed, she would sing to them in Yiddish. Even the songs were sad and poor. There was one about a girl trying to sell her cigarettes. "Please buy my cigarettes. They are dry, not wet by rain. Take pity on me. Take pity on me. Please buy my cigarettes." Oh my God, you gotta make up a song for somebody to buy your cigarettes. That's really desperate, sad, and poor. Still, despite their circumstances, Maury was taught to love and to care and to learn. Eva would accept nothing less than excellence in school because she saw education as the only antidote to their poverty. She herself went to night school to improve her English. Maury's love for education was hatched in her arms. He studied at night by the lamp of the kitchen by the lamp at the kitchen table, and in the mornings he would go to synagogue to say Kaddish, the memorial prayer for the dead, for his mother. He did this to keep her memory alive. Incredibly, Maury had been told by his father never to talk about her. Charlie wanted young. How could he want? He wanted the kids not to talk about their dead mother. Charlie wanted young David to think Eva was his natural mother. It was a terrible burden to Maury. For years, the only evidence Maury had of his mother was the telegram announcement of her death. He had hidden it the day it arrived. He would keep it for the rest of his life. When Maury was a teenager, his father took him to a fur factory where he worked. This was during the Depression. The idea was to get Maury a job. He entered the factory and immediately felt as if the walls had closed in around him. The room was dark, hot, the windows covered with filth, and the machines were packed tightly together, churning like train wheels. The fur hairs were flying everywhere, creating a thickened air. And the workers, sewing the pelts together, were bent over their needles as the boss marched up and down the rows, screaming for them to go faster. Maury could barely breathe. He stood next to his father, frozen with fear, hoping the boss wouldn't scream at him too. During lunch break, his father took Maury to the boss and pushed him in front of him, asking if there was any work for his son. But there was barely enough work for the adult laborers, and no one was giving it up. This, for Maury, was a blessing. He hated the place. He made another vow that he kept to the end of his life. He would never do any work that exploited someone else, and he would never allow himself to make money off the sweat of others. "What will you do?" Eva would ask him. "I don't know," he would say. He ruled out law because he didn't like lawyers, and he ruled out medicine because he couldn't take the sight of blood. "What will you do then?" It was only through default that the best professor I ever had became a teacher. A teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Welcome into the live, everybody. Thank you all so much for coming into the live. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you. Those of you who are here, if you have not yet hit the like button, hit the like button. If you have not yet shared out the stream, please, if you can, share out the stream and invite your friends and your friends' friends to come on over into the live stream. We are reading the book Tuesdays with Morrie. A very inspirational book, so come on over. Let us continue. The fourth Tuesday, we talk about death. Let's begin with this idea, Morrie said. Everyone knows they are going to die, but nobody believes it. He was in a business-like mood this Tuesday. The subject was death, the first item on my list. Before I arrived, Morrie had scribbled a few notes on small white pieces of paper so that he wouldn't forget. His shaky handwriting was now indecipherable to everyone but him. It was almost Labor Day, and through the office window, I could see the spinach-colored edges of the backyard and hear the yells of children playing down the street. Their last week of freedom before school began. Back in Detroit, the newspaper strikers were gearing up for a huge holiday demonstration to show the solidarity of unions against management. On the plane ride in, I had read about a woman who had shot her husband and 2 daughters as they lay sleeping, claiming she was protecting them from the bad people. In California, the lawyers in the O.J. Simpson trial were becoming huge celebrities. Yeah, you all remember Johnny Cochran? OMG. Johnny Cochran got his stars when he represented O.J. Simpson. And if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. I tell you. Here in Morrie's office, life went on one precious day at a time. Now we sat together, a few feet from the newest addition to the house, an oxygen machine. It was small and portable, about knee-high. On some nights, when he couldn't get enough air to swallow, Morrie attached the long plastic tubing to his nose, clamping on his nostrils like a leash. I hated the idea of Morrie connected to a machine of any kind, and I tried not to look at it as Morrie spoke. Everyone knows they're going to die, he said again, but nobody believes it. If we did, we would do things differently. So we kid ourselves about death, I said. Yes, but there's a better approach. To know you are going to die and to be prepared for it at any time. That's better. That way, you can actually be more involved in your life while you are living. Do you all think so, guys? What do you all think about that statement? Let me read it again. To know you are going to die and to be prepared for it at any time, that's better. That way you can actually be more involved in your life while you are living. I think that's a great way to look at it, because it's almost like having a deadline and you are working feverishly towards that deadline and you cannot miss it. So here Morrie is saying, if you prepare yourself for death, then when it comes, you won't feel as though you never lived. You would be able to accept it because you would have lived your life. I know I said up before that many of us don't really live, we just exist. Well, Morrie is trying to change that. He's trying to tell us, live, because death is going to come no matter what. So don't sit down and wait for death to come, but not live. Live. because death will come no matter what. How can you ever be prepared to die? Do what the Buddhists do. Every day, have a little bird on your shoulder that asks, is today the day? And am I ready? And am I doing all I need to do? And am I being the person I want to be? He turned his head to his shoulder as if the bird was there. Oh, is today is today the day I die? He asked. Maury borrowed freely from all religions. He was born Jewish, but became an agnostic when he was a teenager, partly because of all that had happened to him as a child. He enjoyed some of the philosophies of Buddhism and Christianity, and he still felt at home culturally in Judaism. Now, um, many people might say, being an agnost is a bad thing, but I don't think so. Here, Maury is saying that he was an agnost. An agnost is a person who acknowledges that there has to be a higher power, there has to be a higher being, but they're still not sure. They're not sure. And they don't want to say this higher being, this being is called God, because not everybody calls whichever being, whichever deity they serve God. People have different names for the deity, but an agnos is not like a religious zealot who is a religious zealot is like the people who say, oh, Christianity is the best religion, is the only religion, only Christians, only people who practice Christianity are going to heaven and everybody else going to hell. Yeah, those people you avoid at all costs. There are Muslims who have their own beliefs and they believe that everybody else are infidels and they do not belong here, and they have their beliefs. And then there are Buddhists and people who follow Judaism. There are lots and lots of religions around in the world, and everybody wants to believe their own thing. Everybody have their own perception of heaven, their own perception of hell, their own perception of the reward that they're working for or the punishment that they will get for not obeying some kind of rule that was set by their deity for them to follow. And because of that, the number of people who are turning to being agnos have been increasing over the years, because people are like, I don't know if I want to believe all of that. Nah, that can't be. That doesn't even sound right. I don't want to believe that, So lots of people are neither saying yay nor they. They are stuck in the middle, if you ask me. James Gipp is in the place. James Gipp, how are you doing, my love? So good to see you. Welcome into the live. Thank you so much for coming. Don't forget, guys, to hit the like button, and please don't forget to share out the live. Let us continue. He was a religious mutt, which made him even more open to the students he taught over the years. And the things he was saying in his final months on earth seemed to transcend all religious differences. Death has a way of doing that. The truth is, Mitch, he said, once you learn how to die, you learn how to live. I nodded. I'm going to say it again, he said. Once you learn how to die, you learn how to live. He smiled, and I realized what he was doing. He was making sure I absorbed this point without embarrassing me by asking. It was part of what made him a good teacher. Do you think much about death before you got sick? I asked. No, Maury smiled. I was like everyone else. I once told a friend of mine, in a moment of exuberance, I'm gonna be the healthiest old man you had ever met. How old were you? In my 60s. So you were optimistic. Why not? Like I said, no one really believes they're going to die, but everyone knows someone who has died. Why is it so hard to think about dying? Because, Maury continued, most of us all walk around as if we are sleepwalking. We really don't experience the world fully. because we are half asleep, doing things we automatically think we have to do. And facing death changes all that. Oh, yes. You strip away all that stuff and you focus on the essentials. When you realize you are going to die, you see everything much differently. He sighed. Learn how to die, and you learn how to live. Oh my gosh. I noticed that he quivered now when he moved his hands. His glasses hung around his neck, and when he lifted them to his eyes, they slid around his temples as if he were trying to put them on someone else in the dark. I reached over to help guide them onto his ears. Thank you, Maury whispered. He smiled when my hand brushed up against his head. The slightest human contact was immediate joy. Mitch, can I tell you something? Of course, I said. You might not like it. Why not? Well, the truth is, if you really listen to that bird on your shoulder, if you accept that you can die at any time, then you might not be as ambitious as you are. I forced a small grin. The things you spend so much time on, all this work you do, might not seem as important. You might have to make room for some more spiritual things. Spiritual things? You hate that word, don't you? Spiritual? You think it's touchy-feely stuff. Well, I said, he tried to wink, a bad try, and I broke down and laughed. Mitch, he said, laughing along, even I don't know what spiritual development really means, but I do know we are deficient in some way. We are too involved in materialistic things and they don't satisfy us. The loving relationships we have, the universe around us, we take these things for granted. He nodded towards the window with the sunshine streaming in. You see that? You can go out there, outside, at any time. You can run up and down the block and go crazy. I can't do that. I can't go out. I can't run. I can't be out there without fear of getting sick. But you know what? I appreciate that window more than you do. Appreciate it? Yes. I look out that window every day. I notice the change in the trees, how strong the wind is blowing. It's as if I can see time actually passing through the window pane. Because I know my time is almost done, I am drawn to nature like I'm seeing it for the very first time. He stopped, and for a moment, we both just looked out the window. I tried to see what he saw. I tried to see times and seasons, my life passing in slow motion. Maury dropped his head slightly and curled it towards his shoulder. Is it today, little bird? He asked. Is it today? Letters from around the world kept coming in to Maury, thanks to the Nightline appearances. He would sit, when he was up to it, and dictate the responses to friends and family who gathered for their letter-writing sessions. One Sunday, when his sons Rob and John were home, they all gathered in the living room. Maury sat in his wheelchair, his now shiny head covered with a cap, his skinny legs under a blanket. When he got cold, one of his helpers draped a nylon jacket over his shoulders. What's the first letter? Maury asked. A colleague wrote a note from a woman named Nancy who had lost her mother to ALS. She wrote to say how much she had suffered through the loss and how she knew that Maury must be suffering too. All right, Maury said when the reading was completed. He shut his eyes. Let's start by saying, Dear Nancy, you touched me very much with your story about your mother, and I understand what you went through. There is sadness and suffering on both parts. Grieving has been good to me, and I hope it has been good for you also. You might want to change that last line, Rob said. Maury thought for a second, then said, You are right. How about, I hope you can find the healing power in grieving. Is that better? Rob nodded. Add thank you, Maury, Maury said. Another letter was read from a woman named Jane, who was thanking him for his inspiration on the Nightline program. She referred to him as a prophet. That's a very high compliment, said a colleague. A prophet? Maury made a face. He obviously didn't agree with the assessment. Let's thank her for her high praise and tell her I'm glad my words meant something to her. And don't forget to sign. Thank you, Maury. There was a letter from a man in England who had lost his mother and asked Maury to help him contact her through the spirit world. Really? There was a letter from a couple who wanted to drive to Boston to meet him. There was a letter from a former graduate student who wrote about her life after the university. It told of a murder-suicide and 3 stillborn births. It told of a mother who died from ALS. It expressed fear that she, the daughter, would also contract the disease. It went on and on and on. 2 pages, then 3, then 4 pages. Morris sat through the long, grime tale. Oh my, I put myself in the eye. I don't know why I said that, but Morris sat through the long, grim tale. Oh my gosh. When it was finally finished, he said softly, well, what do we answer? How are you going to answer? I don't know what the word he's going to say when somebody sends you 4 pages of stories about their mother and their life and losing babies and all of this. OMG, that has to be exhausting. The group was quiet. Then finally, Rob said, how about thank you for your long letter? Oh no, that's not nice. Everyone laughed. Maury looked at his son and beamed. Thank you for such a long letter. OMG. Let us continue. Welcome into the live, guys. I hope you all are enjoying the reading as much as I am enjoying it. And don't be worried with my few mistakes. Just listen to the words of this man. These words are very, very powerful. The newspaper near his chair has a photo of a Boston baseball player who is smiling after pitching a shout-out. Of all the diseases, I think to myself, Maury gets one named after an athlete. You remember Lou Gehrig? I asked. I remember him in the stadium saying goodbye. So you remember the famous line? Which one? Come on. Lou Gehrig, pride of the Yankees. The speech that echoes over the loudspeakers. Remind me, Maury says. Do the speech. Through the open window, I hear the sound of a garbage truck. Although it is hot, Maury is wearing long sleeves with a blanket over his legs, his skin pale. The disease owns him. I raise my voice and do the Gehrig imitation, where the words bounce off the stadium walls. Today, I feel like the luckiest man on the face of the earth. Maury closes his eyes and nods slowly. Yeah, well, I didn't say that. That's the end of another chapter. We are going to continue reading, my friends. We read this book for just about maybe 45 minutes. So I'm going to read the next chapter of it. And then we are going to finish. We can't read all of it in one night because we want to get the essence of the book. We don't want to just keep reading, and then lose the meaning of it. We can take it in a little at a time, just a little at a time. The 5th Tuesday, we talked about family. It was the first week of September, back to school week, and after 35 consecutive autumns, my old professor did not have a class waiting for him on a college campus. Boston was teeming with students, double park on side streets, uploading, unloading trucks. And here was Maury in his study. It seemed wrong, like those football players who finally retire and have to face that first Sunday at home, watching on TV, thinking, I could do this and I could do that. I have learned from dealing with those players that it is best to leave them alone when their old seasons come around. Don't say anything. But then I didn't need to remind Maury of his dwindling time. For our taped conversations, we had switched from handheld microphones because it was too difficult now for Maury to hold anything that long. To the lavaliers kind, pop, kind popular with TV news people, you can clip these onto a collar or lapel. Of course, since Maury only wore soft cotton shirts that hung loosely on his ever shrinking frame, the microphone sagged and flopped, and I had to search over and over to find a place to put it. Maury seemed to enjoy this because it brought me close to him, in hugging range, and his need for physical affection was stronger than ever. When I leaned in, I heard his wheezing breath and his weak coughing, and him smacking his lips softly before he swallowed. Well, my friend, he said, what are we talking about today? How about family? Family? He mulled it over for a moment. Well, you see mine all around me. He nodded to photos on his bookshelves of Maury as a child with his grandmother, Maury as a young man with his brother David, Maury with his wife Charlotte, Maury with his two sons, Rob, a journalist in Tokyo, and Jean, a computer expert in Boston. I think, in light of what we've been talking about all these weeks, family becomes even more important, he said. The fact is, there is no foundation, no secure ground upon which people may stand today if it isn't the family. It's become quite clear to me, as I've been sick, if you don't have the support and love and caring and concern that you get from a family, you don't have much at all. Love is so supremely important. As our great poet Auden said, love each other or perish. Love each other or perish. I wrote it down. Auden said that. Love each other or perish. Maury said, it's a Maury said, it's good. No, and it's not true. Without love, we are birds with broken wings. Say I was divorced or living alone or had no children. This disease, what I'm going through, would be so much harder. I'm not sure I could do it. Sure, people would come visit, friends, associates, but it's not the same as having someone who will not leave. It's not the same as having someone whom you know has an eye on you, is watching you the whole time. This is part of what a family is about, not just love, but letting others know there's someone who is watching out for them. It's what I missed so much when my mother died, what I call your spiritual security, knowing that your family will be there watching out for you. Nothing else will give you that. Not money, not fame, and certainly nothing else. He shot me a look. Not work, he added. Raising a family was one of those issues on my little list, things you want to get right before it's too late. I told Maury about my generation's dilemma with having children, how we often saw them as tying us down, making us into these parent things that we did not want to be. I admitted to some of these emotions myself. Yet, when I looked at Maury, I wondered if I were in his shoe, about to die, and I had no family, no children, would the emptiness be unbearable? He had raised his two sons to be loving and caring, and like Maury, they were not shy with their affection. Had he so desired, they would have stopped what they were doing to be with their father every minute of his final months. But that was not what he wanted. Do not stop your lives, he told them. Otherwise, this disease will have ruined three of us instead of one. In this way, even as he was dying, he showed respect for his children's worlds. Little wonder that when they sat with him, there was a waterfall of affection, lots of kisses and jokes, and crouching by the side of the bed, holding hands. Whenever people ask me about having children or not having children, I never tell them what to do, Morris said. Morris said now, looking at a photo of his eldest son. I simply say, there is no experience like having children. That's all. There is no substitute for it. You cannot do it with a friend. You cannot do it with a lover. If you want the experience of having complete responsibility of another human being and to learn how to love and bond in the deepest way, then you should have children. So would you do it again? I asked. I glanced at the photo. Rob was kissing Maury on the forehead, and Maury was laughing with his eyes closed. Would I do it again? He said to me, looking surprised. Mitch, I would not have missed that experience for anything. Even though he swallowed and put a picture in his lap. Even though there is a painful price to pay, he said, because you'll be leaving them. Because I'll be leaving them soon. He pulled his lips together, closed his eyes, and I watched the first teardrop fall down the side of his cheek. And now, he whispered, you talk. Me? Your family. I know about your parents. I met them years ago at the graduation. You have a sister too, right? Yes, I said. Older? Yes, older. And one brother, right? I nodded. Yeah, a younger brother. Like me, Maury said. I have a younger brother, like you said. He also came to your graduation, didn't he? I blinked, and in my mind, I saw us all there, 16 years earlier, the hot sun, the blue robes, squinting as we put our arms around each other and posed for Instamatic photos. Someone saying 1, 2, 3, cheese. What is it? Maury said, noticing my sudden quiet. What's on your mind? Nothing, I said, changing the subject. Oh, guys, this book is so beautiful. I simply love it. I love it. All right. But even though we love it, that's where we are going to end tonight. When we come back tomorrow, we are going to continue the reading of Tuesdays with Maury. Now, for those of you who are just coming into the live, just coming and just discovering my channel, I want to say thank you so much for stopping. We are currently over 4,000 subscribers. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Who would have thought? My reading brings all the boys to the yard, and your life is better than mine. And something like that. Something like that. But guys, I really do enjoy reading to you all, reading for us. I really do enjoy reading for us. And I hope you all are enjoying the readings so far as much as I am enjoying bringing them to you. So it's almost like morning the Bible and evening the novel. Maybe something like that. In the morning we read the Bible, and in the evening we read a novel. And in between that we do lives and videos and chat and continue with our lives, and because life is beautiful. We cannot die to live. We have to live knowing that we are going to die. All right, guys. And that is going to be the end of the reading for tonight. Once again, I want to say thanks to everybody who came in. Thanks to the newbies, and thanks to, oh my God, my ear. And thanks to my faithful travelers who comes in religiously to spend time with me. I sincerely, sincerely appreciate you all. And with that, my dear friends, Arlise and James Gibbs and AG and everybody else who came into the chat, I want to say thank you all so, so, so much for coming in. Until next time, my friends, this is Trev from Trevessence, where your journey matters. Have a good night, Arlise. Have a good night, everybody. See you all later or tomorrow. It's now 9:30. See you all later.